just give us your evaluation of Clubnick and why did you feel it was necessary to trade up?
Yeah, I felt really good about Cade. You know, it started obviously last year evaluating all those quarterbacks going into this year. We had good grades on Cade going in this year, and then you know you watch him this year. He got hurt early and was playing hurt much of the year, and that team kind of struggled. But was excited to get around him at the combine. Had a great combine interview, which kind of sparked us to want to get down to Clemson and work him out and spend some more time with him. And we went down there, and again, it was a great exposure. Being there on campus with him, in the room, talking ball, felt very natural. Felt like there was a connection there. Getting on the field, doing the workout, showed well. So felt really good about Cade, a young player that has a lot of experience. You know, played a lot of snaps in high school, 30-0 record in Texas. Went to Clemson as a young, I think 17-year-old, 3-year starter at Clemson. Won a lot of games there. Unfortunately, had a down year this year, but still young, athletic with some upside, and feel really good about being able to get him.
Aaron, this is big picture. What do you believe you accomplished with this draft?
Number one, I think we've been saying this throughout the week is, man, guys that have won, and there's a number of different type of guys that we got. So when you look at today, man, we got huge men to play for us, and you probably heard me say Mass kicks ass. And with DJ, with Coop, I mean those guys are a really good developmental linemen that we can have, be able to look at the guys that we have and be able to learn and get better. We just talked about Clubnick, and man, just the experience that he has. High school, as many games he's won, as many games he's won in college. And he still has a way to go to get where he needs to go. But just overall, I think we did a really good job of identifying the guys that we love, and we brought them here to this team to be able to help us continue to move in the direction that we want to move.
Can I ask for actually both of you and Darren, when you take a step back, and I know you just finished up with the draft, but
Yep.
everything you've done for the last 4 months, you know, with the free agency period, you know, the coaching staff changes,
Yep.
you know, just to kind of reboot from last year, can you describe how much advanced do you feel? And even
Yeah.
in your second year,
Yeah.
having, you know,
That's a really good question, because it really started like right at the end of the year to where, and I've said this many a times, that I want to evaluate myself and see exactly the things that I need to improve on, and that's exactly where it started. Right after the exit meetings with the players, I mean, I really took a long look at the things that I need to improve on, and then how can we move forward as a football team. And that's when everything between me and Mougey became really intentional on the steps that we want to take. And you heard us say we want to be process-oriented, meaning we did not want to miss a step. We know exactly what we were saying. We know exactly what the vision was and all the steps in between there to actually get to that vision. And we're not done yet. You know, we want to make sure that we were very intentional about those things. So it started with the coaching staff. And then we got to free agency, which, you know, we were all happy about. And then we're at the draft, which we were happy about. And now we have to continue to go through OTAs and be intentional about those things to make sure that we get better as a football team and as an organization. So I'm happy where we're at. We've grown, but we still have a ways to go. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure we get there.
Aaron, how would you describe or assess the short and long-term health of the quarterback position?
As far as
Like the short term being this year?
Yeah, okay, I got you. Well, listen, obviously we brought in Geno to be our starter. And I'm not going to put a cap on him on how many years he can play. So I don't even go into the fact of he's here for a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as he's producing, and as long as he's the best, you know, guy out there, he's going to continue to play. But obviously in this league, you got to have a system where there are backups and there are guys that are pushing the starter. And you always want to create that type of competition. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say exactly where Cade's going to play. The thing is, those guys are going to go out there and compete. You know, so right now I like their room. I like where it's at. The guys going to continue to compete. And I don't want to cap any of those guys as far as play time and how long they're going to play and things like that. They're going to go out there and as long as they're competing and giving us the best chance to win, they'll be here for us.
Darren, along those lines, I think you had told us in Arizona that you were thinking of adding a veteran quarterback before the draft. And you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Would you still think about adding a veteran to that room? Because the three guys behind Gino haven't played a ton of football.
Yeah. And I remember those comments at the owners meeting. We got back and we kind of spoke as a group and talked about it. And that landscape really hasn't moved much. And we felt good about that at that time and didn't anticipate it moving. So felt like, okay, let's go into the draft. Let's see where we come out. We'll reconvene and say, okay, now let's look at the landscape. Let's look at the picture. Let's have some good discussions about what we know we have now coming out of the draft and kind of further evaluate it. So we'll see in the coming weeks.
Now that you're through the draft, Darren, is this getting back to the table with Breece? Is that something you guys might want to do?
Potentially. I mean, I got a list of things we're going to turn the page from on the draft and address next week. That being one of them, internally discuss, and we'll see where that goes.
Aaron, I think for both of you, actually, you talked about your growth and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but I'm curious, like, last year you guys had only been working with each other for like 3 or 4 months when you went into the draft. I'm curious if you noticed a difference this year, now you kind of know each other's tendencies, what you liked and things like that, like what the kind of flow is like in the draft for the two of you.
Well, I would say mentality-wise, as far as how we want this team to look, like we're so much in sync on that, and it's not like we went in sync last year. It's just the fact, man. It feels really good to have a partner that sees it the same way as you. And listen, I know that Mougey would talk to you about where things that he has to grow. I know things that where I have to grow, but as long as we continue to have those conversations and making sure we're still like moving in a direction to where we can take this organization where it needs to go. It feels really good. And again, it feels really good to have someone that you can trust, that has your back. I think every coach, and I'm just speaking as a head coach now, every coach in a league will love to have a GM like that because it's all about trust to me.
And I can say, I know last year when we hit the ground running, although it was fairly new, just a few months, it felt very easy and natural. I don't remember any times where it wasn't, we were like feeling each other out. Obviously with time on task, we know each other even better and we have a better understanding and the language is seamless. I can speak for myself too, just in terms of process and being more kind of familiar with all the faces. Obviously AG, but our entire staff, our coaches, you have a better understanding for the people. And the question was asked earlier, going into this draft is different. It's definitely a more comfortable feeling going in, knowing you have a whole year with your processes. We changed the entire grading scale from our last draft. So we're in a different scale. We're in a different system. I felt much more comfortable visualizing the board this year and kind of knowing how it was going to fall and feel really good about where we're at as a whole staff.
What went into that? The changing of this? Is it just similar to what you did in Denver? Like from what? Like I guess what?
Actually, so last year you get here, it's hard to make an overhaul of systems and scales and stuff. So you kind of just dive in and say, okay, let's figure it out as we go. And we adapted and adjusted to the current group, and you kind of figure it out. And then once you get through the draft, say, okay, in the off season we're going to get together collectively as a group, and we actually created our own scale. I had all of my scouts pitch different ideas. I mean, it was several weeks of a process, and we had a lot of discussion. And because we've all had different experiences and different scales, but we created our own with our own color schemes, our own number schemes, had a lot of discussion about it. I would say enhanced the systems, laid out the process for the whole year for everyone. And in doing so, I think a lot of guys feel really good about it, and I think the result was pretty good, and we feel good about where we're at.
A couple more. With Darren, I just wanted to clarify, so I don't want to misinterpret something you just said about Breece Hall. You said potentially start. I just want to be clear because it sounded.
Yeah.
Are you going to start talking again, or
I've got
potentially? I don't know what that means.
I anticipate addressing the Breece Hall contract stuff. I got a list of things to get to next week. That being one of them. I want to have discussions internally, have discussions with Breece's party before saying much more. But yeah, I anticipate kind of turning my attention to Breece and that contract situation.
Based on your conversations with Breece and his representatives, I know in a perfect world you guys figure something out and it works on time. When you did tag him though, were you under the impression he would play on the tag if you guys came?
I haven't had a lot of discussions since the tag with them. I think we made a good attempt to get something done. We weren't able to. And we're like, okay, we'll use the tag for now, knowing that we have time. And since then, we've both respected the space, and thankful to his party, they've allowed me to just focus my attention on the draft. So,
AJ,
see.
I'm curious.
Last one.
Particularly like the first 2 picks, right?
Yep.
Do you feel the need to talk to a Mason Taylor or a Will McDonald who might be saying, they just drafted someone out of the same position as, how does this affect me? Do you reach out to those guys, or will you, when you see them in the building, kind of pull them aside? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think every player on this team knows that, like, we're building competition, and they want that because it only makes them better. So I don't think there's a need to be able to call each player, oh, we drafted a guy. You know, those guys know that we're going to do whatever we have to do to get this team to be a better team. And you might draft guys in the same position, but that doesn't mean that, you know, we're attacking who they are as a player. It just means, man, we're trying to fill this team with the best players that we can. And also, man, 2 tight ends can play, 3 tight ends can play, you know. So I think the players understand that, and I think that's just across the league. That's just what it is. So neither one of those guys that I felt like I need to call them. They just know they're going to compete for the jobs.